Hey guys, as you can see, I'm top 1000 in the world right now. If you want to get here, all you have to do is use this very simple and powerful Root Rider and Valkyrie army. On the left hand side, you can see the hero and equipment we'll be using this attack. For the main army composition, it'll be 7 Root Riders, 5 healers, 7 Valkyries, an Apprentice Warden, and cleanup troops to make sure you don't time fill. In the spells, it'll be 1 Rage spell, 1 Recall spell, 1 Overgrowth, and then 5 Invisibility. For your Siege Machine, you'll be using the Siege Barracks. In the Clan Castle troops, it'll be 3 Hog Riders and 5 Valkyries. You'll also have 1 Rage spell and 1 Freeze spell. In this video, I'll be showing you some of my attacks using this army against some of the top players in the world, such as Tyler and Applesauce. Alright, so as you can see, we're going up against Tyler on this base. It's a double poison tower base with more of a ring style. So you're going to want to drop that RC in and try and target one of those poison towers and break the ring of the base. Drop the invisibility spell every time that clock on the top hits a 6 or a 7. Also, you could use the invisibility spells to help path your RC in towards the base. As you can see, she was about to target a defense on the outside, so I just dropped one real quick to make sure she went in towards that poison tower. Once she gets all that value she needs, just grab her back up with the recall spell. Now, I'm going to drop that siege barracks in from the top. Now, Queen, and try to just get as much value as you can with that giant arrow. Use the baby dragon on the outside to just try and clean up and set more of a funnel so your troops don't path out of the base. Now, drop in your Root Riders to try and just make them start moving in towards the base. And once they open up the walls and make a clearer pathing for your Valkyries, send those in with the King and Warden. As your troops enter a high damage area, drop that Rage spell to make sure they can get through it quicker, and then as they move in, your healers will get raged up, making them heal even faster. Now activate that Warden ability as you get into a high damage area and set that Overgrowth in to try and get rid of the damage on the back end and make sure you have good pathing towards the actual area you want to go to. Now you just got to wait it out. You start sending in some of those cleanup troops on the back end to make sure you don't actually time fill on some of the garbage buildings. Set in some of those extra spells to make sure you can get some extra damage on those defenses like the free spell and the rage spell. Activate that king ability when he starts to slow down and get stuck on some of those high damage and high HP defenses. Now just send in the rest of your troops to help clean up. And this base is crushed. Alright, so now we're going up against Applesauce in the second replay. This is a very popular design of base. On this, you're just going to want to send in that RC from one of the corners, so make sure you can set an easy pathing in towards the core of the base in the town hall. Remember, drop that invisibility spell every time the clock hits a 6 or a 7. On the RC, just make sure you keep her alive and don't let her take too much damage, and try and keep that Spirit Fox alive. Now, once you get all the value you need from the RC charge, just send in that recall spell to pick her and the Spirit Fox back up. On the opposite side of the RC charge, you can send in that Queen and your Siege Machine. Use the Queen ability right away to send that giant arrow ripping through the base. Now you can send in those Root Riders in towards the middle of the funnel, and use the healers, Warden, and King right away. Now, once your Root Riders break in through that base, send in the Valkyries to make sure they can easily get funneled in towards the base. Also, at this point, you should be sending in that RC, and make sure she doesn't really take a lot of damage. Now, you can drop that Overgrowth on some of the damage for the back end to make sure your troops don't take too much damage. As you enter in the high damage area, activate that Warden and King ability to just try and get rid of it right away. Drop a Rage spell on an area of the base where you're going to be facing a lot of damage too. This will end up raging the healers, so you can easily heal the troops back up. Now you could drop in some of those cleanup troops to make sure you don't time fill on the back end. And use some of the extra spells you have just to increase the damage of the troops and increase the heal of the healers. You could also use those extra freeze and invisibility spells you have just to help clear up some of the damage if you really need that. On this base, I'm not going to end up needing it, so I'll just end up swagging them. Make sure to just drop those extra troops and use up that ability on the RC. And this base will be crushed now. Alright, now on to the final replay. This is a base you're very likely to see, as it's very popular at the moment. Just remember, send that RC from one of the corners to try and take out the most value you can. and send in that invisibility spell every time the clock hits a 6 or a 7. Now just try and make sure you funnel that RC in towards the base to try and set a clear pathing for your Root Riders and Valkeries. Now, once you get all the value you need from the RC, just pick her back up. Now, on the opposite corner of that side of the base, send in that Siege Barracks with the Queen to lure out those Clan Castle troops. Activate that Queen ability right away to just try and do as much damage to the base as possible. You can send in those Root Riders and Healers, and now King and Warden, in towards the center of that funnel. Drop that baby dragon on the outside of the base to just try and clear up some of the extra garbage buildings on the outside. You could send in those Valkyries once you set a clear pathing towards the center of the base. Also, send in that RC on the back end just to make sure she doesn't take too much damage. Now you can drop that Rage spell on the high damage area, activate that Warden ability as you enter in an area with a lot of damage, use that Overgrowth to help path your army in towards the area you actually want it, use the King ability once you enter an area with a lot of defenses and high HP buildings. Now just remember, save those spells on areas where you're going to need to keep your troops alive and help deal extra damage. You can now drop in some of those cleanup troops to help make sure you don't time fill. Once you see your army start thinning out and start spreading out, just try and keep an eye on the RC as she's going to be doing a lot of damage in this attack, so just use some of those extra spells to keep her alive. Now, on the bottom of the base, you can see the Overgrowth just activated, so pop that RC ability so she can run through those defenses very quickly and not take a lot of damage, and this base will be easily crushed. Alright, well that is it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, and let me know if you want to see more tutorial style videos like this in the future.